Hello, this is Lee, and I just like to welcome whoever shows up. I wasn't planning on doing any type of show tonight, but at the last minute I decided to because there's a couple things going on. First of all, I like to talk about tonight. I'm going to do a little show. It's not going to be a long show tonight. It's going to be a short show, but I'm going to do a show about Frankie Boy Cali. He was the head of the Gambino family. In a very weird situation, he was assassinated by a gentleman named Anthony Comello, Comello, and it has a lot of weird facts. And I just wanted to present it just so people could understand how weird it is. But before we get into that, I want to talk about first off, Johnny Alite. I'm not going to talk about him too much tonight because I've been talking about him too much. I don't want to give him that much, you know what I mean. I just don't want to talk about him too much. But anyway, Johnny Alite, he turned down the cage match that Jimmy Calandra offered him, challenged him. And the thing is on his show, Johnny Alite said that people talking about him are nothing but keyboard warriors, and that he wasn't worried about anybody. And then he said that he had a heart procedure, which is all fine and good. But yet he also said that he wanted to fight John Gotti Jr. He knows that's not going to happen. And he knows that that Calandra offered him the fight. And Calandra, he's not going to get it. He goes, no way. Basically, he's calling everybody gnats and keyboard warriors. And so he turned down that fight. And that's all I'm going to say about Johnny Alite tonight. He turned down the fight. So basically, he's not that tough guy that he pretends to be. He's still looking to fight John Gotti Jr., and he knows that's not going to happen. That's why he's offering it. Okay, also, this Saturday coming up, on 8 Eastern, I'm going to have my first interview on this station. I'm going to be interviewing Jimmy Calandra right on this station. And I'd like to thank him for doing this for me. He wanted to help me with the station. Today alone, I picked up 100 subs in one day, which is pretty incredible. And my last 4 videos I put out have all had over 1,000 views, and they keep going up. I never expected this. So I just like to say thank you to the people that are enjoying this show. And my average watch time is 20 minutes, which in this business is very long. And so if you become a fan of the show, I used to like to say thank you, and I'm surprised that it went over this quick. And it is greatly appreciated. And Chad Sunk, I just started watching your channel. I'm enjoying your content. This is from Cane Shades, and I appreciate that, Cane Shades. We're trying to put up good content, and we're going to continue doing so. And like I said, we're going to have Jimmy Calandra. I'm not sure if you're a fan of Jimmy Calandra's. If you're not, really check out his station. Also, I have my Twitter page down in the information along with my Instagram. My Instagram is a private account. So, but if you just try to join, I'll let people in. And also on my Twitter, that's not a private account. And if you want to join my Twitter page, please do so. You know, I'm at the age now, I never thought I'd be asking about Twitter stuff and all this stuff. I'm an older guy, you know. This is the internet is a young man's world with some older guys in it, and guys in their 50s like myself, or I believe Jimmy's in his early 50s. He's younger than me. I want to also talk to you now about this gentleman right here. Okay, his name is Anthony Comello. He shot and killed Frankie Boy Cali, who was the head of the Gambino family. And that happened last year. And well, actually 2 years ago now, and it was March 13th, 2019. And when it happened, the first thing that happened, there was a lot of misinformation because Gene Gotti had just gotten out of jail 6 months earlier before the hit. Before the assassination. And I'm going to explain to you why this thing is so strange. Now, take a look at this guy. He doesn't, no criminal record. Just now they're saying that he was QAnon and he was having these weird things and he went to arrest this guy, and it just doesn't sound right. It's very strange about the whole. He shot him 11 times, and just recently in court, last year in court, they said that he is pretty much insane and not able to stand trial, which I don't know, man. I seen him talk in court. He didn't come off to me as totally insane. And and for you that don't know who, I'm gonna give you an idea who the gentleman was that he killed. And 1 second, please, and I'll get this up here. Let's remove this one right here. And I'm not real fast in this stuff, but I'll try to be fast. Let's see, I'll stop screen. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to put up a picture. Well, Frankie Boy Cali. And he was the head of the Gambino family. And just to give you an idea of exactly what he is, I'm going to give you a little information on him. Okay, he was born in 1965 in New York City, and he lived in Benson. He ran a household goods store in Palermo and a video store in Bensonhurst, Boston, in Brooklyn. And he was related to John Gambino, who was a pretty popular Sicilian mobster. And he also was doing a lot of stuff with Sicily, and he brought some zips over to take care of him and to run stuff at that time. And then when he got killed, the first person they thought that did it was Gene Gotti. And a lot of misinformation came out that this guy was killed by Gene Gotti. So for several days, they were blaming Gene Gotti for the death because he just came out, and they thought there was some infighting going in. And the whole thing became very strange because basically what happened is on March 13, 2019, he was 53 years old and he died. He was assassinated, shot 11 times. They said that he was arguing with this guy. This guy runs into his car in the driveway, and then this guy comes running out of the house and starts arguing with him. And here's the strangest thing. They said that basically it was self-defense because he thought that other guy was going to shoot him. Now, there's video on this. Even with the fact that there's video, they still put this guy in the nut house. And they said that he's basically he failed the psychiatric exam, and his insanity is going to be defense. And the judge denied a motion to suppress Comello's initial confession. So he did confess. And in June of 2020, Comello was found mentally unfit to stand trial. And so he is not going to stand trial, I guess. And if he is, it's just really strange, because what they're saying is that there was a motion that Cali made where it looked like he was going for a gun, so the other guy shot him. I find this hard to believe because this guy pulled in his driveway and started the whole thing. So how can it be self-defense? And then they said that it was he was going there because he was a big fan of President Trump, and he put QAnon on his hand during the court hearing and held it up, and it said Trump on it. It was just really, really strange. And Comello had texted his, basically he said in one news, unnamed experts as stating that he is marked for death right now. He has an open contract on him in prison, but he's in solitary confinement in the loony bin, where I don't know how he got there, but because of the QAnon thing. But as people know, when you go to jail, it's very hard to be found insane. Now, on the video, it looked like they were arguing, and he pulled out the gun. And from what I understand, it didn't look like he was going for anything. It just looked like a pure shooting. I mean, it's just really weird. The main reason I wanted to bring this up is because the whole thing is super strange, and especially the fact of how they're treating it. TikTok, love the content. I appreciate that, and we're going to keep trying to get good content in there, and that means a lot. And I see quite a few new people up here coming in. And it's like I said today, I picked up over 100 subs, and it's greatly appreciated. But getting back to this, so Comello shoots him, right? And Comello pled not guilty to the murder on the weapon possessed charges, although he initially confessed to the murder to the police. One news cited, that part I read, it says Comello had texted that his family is marked also. So this guy is saying not only is he's marked, but so is his family. So I don't know if that seems right, because the mafia doesn't target families. It's a rarity. So, but you don't know what to believe. I mean, it's all misinformation. This whole case has been weird from the very beginning, since the assassination. It's been very, very strange. I remember the day that he was killed. I mean, they were all over it saying that there was some infighting going on and there was a war. But obviously it wasn't. As for this guy being crazy, he might be crazy. But I don't know what to think of it. I mean, if people want to write any opinions or give me any information that you may know, I would appreciate it, because I just found this whole thing very strange. And so I would really appreciate that. And I'm not going to talk about that too much. That's going to be the end of that. But I also want to talk about another part of my show that I'm going to be doing is I spent 2 years in the combat zone. And people that don't know the combat zone, it's a very bad area of Boston back in the 70s and 80s. And I worked for a guy down there named Teddy Venus, who was a gangster, and he ran the whole entire zone. I have 2 years worth of stories working for him, and they're very interesting story. And I want to give one story tonight when I was working down there. Well, when I first started working for Teddy, I would go to Teddy's every night about 2 o'clock in the morning when the bars started closing up, because he ran all the bars on the strips, and he also ran all the peep shows. And so we would take, back then everything was cash. There was no credit cards. So people had to carry a lot of cash from the stores, from the bars and from the peep shows, and take them up to his office. And so you had all these people in these places all carrying huge amounts of money. And the police were on the street, and they used to watch everything to make sure that nobody got robbed while they were carrying the money. And these were Boston cops. So when we would take the money upstairs, and as soon as we took the money upstairs, Teddy would sometimes he would hand me a paper bag, and I would go down, and there was right in front of his office on the street, wide out in the open, did not care if anybody seen him. There was a sergeant and a lieutenant. They'd be sitting in the front of the car, and I would hand them the paper bag. And I knew there was a lot of money in it. I don't know how much. So basically, what they were doing, they were paying the police to protect the money coming out of these bars at night and going up to Teddy's place. And I found that quite fascinating, because these cops did not care. These were Boston cops. And that's when I really got an idea. The Boston cops were much more corrupt than the New York cops that I had dealt with, because they were so blatant and they didn't care about anybody seeing them taking that money. And basically the mob was paying the police for protection. And I just found that very fascinating, because Teddy, not only did he have that street, he had other ventures going on too. And as I told you, I worked for Teddy, and he took trust in me. And he started buying me suits and treating me really good. But I would see stuff in the street that you wouldn't believe. It was just such a tough area. And shootings, stabbings. It was like a commonplace thing. And we used to get a lot of the soldiers come in there, and there was a Navy base, and a lot of the Navy people come there, and they would get drunk and stuff. And my job was to put the girls on and off stage. At the dancing, I worked at a place called the Boston Bunnies. And basically my job would be to take these girls and put them on stage. And at certain times when it's busy, you would take the prettier girls or the younger girls that weren't worn out, and you put them on stage at that time. And one of the reasons I'm talking about this, because, I was just a young guy from New York, and I never expected to get that job when I started working there. So I'm an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, and I'm thrown into this right away. So just picture, guys, when you're 18 and 19 years old and you're all of a sudden working around all these naked women running around stages and stuff, and your job is to take them off and get them on. And that was my job. But the thing that I used to notice most is when these girls came to work, usually they always have some guy driving them to work. And the guy would drop them off, they go inside, they work their butts off, and these guys would wait for them to leave, and they would get off at the end of the night and get in these guys' cars and go home or whatever. But these guys used to literally sit out front of these bars and wait all day for their girlfriends to come out. And these girls would come out and hand them money while they're sitting in their vehicles that they made that day. And I just found that very sad. And sometimes we'd get some runaway girls there, and they would always lie about their age. And the sad part about this is back then, nobody cared. I was too young and stupid to really understand what was going on. But it was really bad. And it gave me an idea. It's the first time that I really started understanding the streets. I grew up on Bragg Street in Sheepshead Bay, pretty rough area, but it was a beautiful area too. And it was not nearly as bad as like where Jimmy Calandra is on Bath Avenue, a much rougher area. I mean, Bragg Street was nothing compared to Bath Avenue. And when I was there, it was just very sad. I have a lot of stories that I'm going to put into this, and because I spent 2 years there. And I just don't want people to think that I'm glorifying it, because I'm not glorifying it. I was a kid that basically ran away from home, and I wound up in Times Square. And eventually I wound up in the combat zone, because what I did is I saved my money. I went to the bus station, and I just took a bus to Boston. I knew nothing about Boston. I just decided to go to Boston. And I spent 2 years there under the tutelage of Teddy Venus. Now, if you go online and put Teddy Venus in, you'll get some mugshots of him, and it will explain to you who he was. But he wasn't a very nice man. But unfortunately, I looked up to him because of all the power he had, and to see that he controlled literally 3-4 blocks of one area. And, you're a young guy and you're watching this, you're like, wow, the guy had the gangster look, everything, the dark hair and the olive complexion. I mean, that's what he looked like. And he was a very, he never smiled, and he was a pretty mean man. But for some reason, he took a liking to me. I know what the reason is, and I'll get into that as I talk more about what happened. And he also worked with his brother, and they pretty much worked together on the street. But he was never in the street. He was always up in his office. And what he did too to get people working for him, he got guys like me, younger guys that came in, and he would train them. And we weren't Italians. We had nothing to do with the mob or anything. We were just young guys and kind of looking for someone to look up to. And he would pay us cash every night. We would get off and go up to his office, and he'd hand us cash. I mean, there were some nights I'd go up there and he'd hand me $100. And we're talking in 1979, $100 a night in 1979 was really good money. And I did this. And all the time I was there, I stayed at the YMCA in Cambridge. And Teddy used to drive me back every night. He used to wait for me. I'd go up there and get my pay. And then he would take me over to the YMCA. And he didn't carry a gun or anything. His brother did, but he didn't carry a gun. I guess that maybe he couldn't. He was a felon or something, and he was afraid about doing it. But, I didn't know who were the bigger gangsters, Teddy or the cops, though, because the cops there were so corrupt. I mean, they would drink. They would be in the bars with the girls. I mean, and when people say the Boston cops, and they talk about the Boston police really were that corrupt back in the 70s and early 80s. I mean, you can't even describe it. They would grab people off the street and just start beating the daylights out of them. And if Teddy wanted someone off the street, he'd just tell them, look, I want that guy off the street. He's going into my bar, starting fights. And that's what he did. And I told you on this show one more time, I'm not gonna go too long tonight. I like to keep these videos about, say, 30 minutes. But when I met Whitey Bulger, and I talked about this once before, and I'm not trying to overplay it, but that's how I'm gonna close this out. Whitey Bulger used to go into a place called the Sixes, and I didn't even know who he was back then. All I remember is he used to come in with a bunch of Irishmen. And so what happened was he would come in with a group of guys, and he'd go into the Sixes. Luckily, he never came into the Boston Bunnies. He always liked that place called the Sixes, and he would go in there. And he was with Kevin Weeks. If you've seen the movie, they talk about him in the movie. And I remember Teddy and his brother telling me, don't go near that guy. Don't start talking to him because he's crazy. They would tell me that he would just hurt people just for the sake of hurting people. And, you could be having a conversation with him, and I might say something that I think is innocent, but Whitey Bulger wouldn't. So Whitey Bulger would just have his guy start beating the daylights out of you, and he was crazy. And you knew he was crazy because the mob guys were scared of him. And, there were many more mob guys than Irish guys. And these were just a group of guys, but they were scared daylights of Teddy Bulger. I mean, not Teddy Bulger, I'm sorry. So Bulger just scared the daylights out of him. And they left him alone. But I remember, one thing I remember about him, he had really blue eyes. And if you watch Johnny Depp played him in the movie, he had the same type of eyes. And that's what made the movie so good, is because Johnny Depp just changed his whole image to look like him. And what he did is he put blue contacts in, shaved his head, or I don't know how they did it, but it was quite impressive. And Whitey Bulger had really shiny blue eyes. And that's what you remember about when you looked at him. But, that's my story about meeting Whitey Bulger. And I'm glad I met him twice. 2 times he came in, and both times he came in, he went into the bar. I stayed away from him because I was told to stay away from him. And when you see the future of what he did, you'd understand. And you have to remember one thing Whitey Bulger did is when I started this show, I was talking about how all these people that turn state evidence and stuff, and how many of them now have YouTube stations. I'm probably the only guy that didn't turn state evidence that talks along this guy, and they all have these shows. I mean, Sammy Gravano, Johnny Alite will say that he never ratted, but according to documents, he's ratted on 200 people. So when he calls people rats, remember that Johnny Alite ratted on 200 people. How do you even get to that many people? Sammy Gravano didn't even rat on that many people. And But they never used him at trial, as we talked about. They only used him at one trial. He was such a bad witness. And that was it. I promise I wouldn't get into Johnny Alite, but every time I start talking about him, I get a little bit agitated because of all the issues going on with him right now and all the insults he's passing to people. And the most amazing thing is the fact that he gets all the hits he does, 60, 70,000 viewers a show, which is incredible. And, I find it kind of funny because you had all these guys working the streets and stuff. And when you're working the streets, it's hard to make money. You got to find things to do to make money. You got to find scams and little things like that. So can you imagine these guys all getting out of jail now? And everybody's telling them, hey, you should start a YouTube station. So they start YouTube stations. And if you're getting 60,000, 70,000 hits like Johnny Alite gets, you're making really good money. So these guys are hustling their whole life. And then all of a sudden they come across the greatest hustle there is, starting a YouTube station. And when they go on, if they're interesting, right away, people go to them and start watching their shows. I mean, if you watch Jimmy Calandra, he tells fantastic stories and he's fun to watch. But his stories are short and sweet, and he tells them and he ends his show. But if you go to Johnny Alite or all those other guys that are with him, you got to listen to those guys for an hour. And an hour of how tough they are and how they're the baddest asses on the face of the planet. It's just like you want to rip your eyes out just watching them. And I think that's what separates even Sammy Gambino. He's short and sweet. And that's the two things. Sammy Gambino and Jimmy Calandra, the difference between them and these other guys. They're short. Their stories are 20 minutes long. They tell them and they're done. But these other guys, their shows go like an hour and a half. And it's hard to watch a show for an hour and a half. That's why I keep my content, like I'll be closing this down in about 3-4 minutes. I try not to go nearly as long as these guys. But can you imagine that? Do you hear these guys are hustlers and stuff? And then, they're about ready to get out of jail and people saying, hey, when you get out of jail, make sure you get a computer and start your own YouTube station. Because when you start your YouTube station, you're going to get to 1,000. And here's how YouTube does it. You have to have 1,000 views to get monetized, 1,000 subscribers get monetized. And that doesn't mean you're going to make a lot of money. It's by watch time. When people watch your show, how long are they going to watch it for? So if you come in and you're starting to get a lot of viewers, I'll give you an example. I was watching Jimmy's show this morning. Hey, Cherry, how you doing? I appreciate you showing up. If you watch Jimmy, I went on Jimmy's show this morning, and he started 16 minutes after his show came on. He had 888 viewers at one time. That is insane to have that many viewers. That's a lot of viewers. That means you're putting out great content. And that's pretty impressive. And before I came back here, I was on my son has a station. And if you go to Mr. Zod, Z-O-D, and put it in, he has a totally different content to me. I was doing a show with him, and I decided to leave. And I came back and restarted this station about a week ago, a little bit over a week ago. And every video I put out has had well over 1,000 views. And like I said today, I picked up 100 subscribers in one day. I mean, and then, kidding around, Jimmy Calandra told me, he said, in a week, you're going to be over 1,000. I'm like, wow, I'm over 1,000. That's great. But, and the thing is, I kind of become friends with Jimmy Calandra. And maybe it'll get that more so as we go along. But he's a really nice guy. And that's the guy that, and a lot of people say, hey, don't trust street guys and stuff. But I really believe that Jimmy has really cleared up his life and really is trying to put his life together, and I'm under the same situation. And I have put my life together. And I've lost my brother to suicide 4 months ago, so it's been really tough. And it doesn't get easier. Cherry, everyone. Oh, Cherry says, everyone, hit the like button to support the channel. Yeah, let me tell you something about Cherry. Cherry goes in and she works. She doesn't get paid or anything. She goes and helps people, and she monitors their chat rooms. And next Saturday, I'll have Jimmy Calandra on, and we'll probably get some jerks from the other shows. And so I will need Cherry to be a bodyguard next week. And now this is right here. This is Mr. Zod's Phantom Zone. That is my son. And that's the name of his show, Mr. Zod's Phantom Zone. So if you wanted to go to his station, I was joking with him. I told him that within a couple of weeks, I'm going to have more subs than you. But I think that if he looks about how many subs I have right now, I'm probably making him a little bit nervous. So what do you think, Mr. Zod? Cherry, what do you think? Am I going to catch Mr. Zod in a couple of weeks or within a week when it comes to subs once I have Jimmy Calandra on? Okay. Eventual visitor says, you seem like a nice and down-to-earth gentleman. I appreciate that, and the best for you and your channel. I appreciate that too. And Cherry says that Mr. Zod is sweating. You came in late, Mr. Zod. I was talking about a hit that happened, but I'm not going to redo the show and explain it to you. But you know what? I'll invite you on as a guest next week to help you get some more subs. What do you think? Okay. Okay. Well, listen, that's 32 minutes. I try to keep my shows about 30 minutes, and I'd just like to thank everybody for being here. Mr. Zod, thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Cherry, I appreciate it. And then whoever else showed up. And it's going to be interesting to see what this video does, because I wasn't planning on doing this video. I was just reading about this whole Frankie, this Cali hit. And it was just a very, very strange thing that the gentleman that killed him is now basically considered unfit to stand trial. I've never heard of that in my life, that someone that's shooting somebody, another gangster, well, this guy was not a gangster, but he shot the head of the Gambino family and killed him. And he literally is in the loony bin and not in jail. That's just very odd. Well, if you are showing up now, please go back and watch the show and let me know what you think. I hope I didn't bore anybody tonight. And if you like the show, please hit the like. I'd really appreciate it. And also hit the subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And please remember, this Saturday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, I will have Jimmy Calandra here. Jimmy Calandra's said he will mention on his show this week. And I really appreciate the fact that he's doing that. So everybody take care. Thank you for showing up. And I will have some more stories, and I will try to make them as exciting as possible. And I hope you like the ones that I gave you tonight. So everybody take care.